Hey everyone, it's Rich. Got another video for you. This time I'm going to talk about the Maps, Plots, and Storms button at the iOS. So we'll say we select Maps, Plots, and Storms. Top button I'm familiar with, the Map button. Options on the right hand side there. At the top right you see Map to Airport. Underneath there, just select what airport you want. It'll center the map at that airport. Map to Aircraft we're familiar with. Spiderweb. That changes whether you want your range rings on or off. I think we're all familiar with that. Symbols and data underneath there, those are the options for things that can be displayed on the map. You can see things like the ILS, VOR, NDB if you want those displayed. If you want to get rid of them, you can deselect them all. And you'll see when you go back to the map that they've all disappeared. Go back to symbols and data and reselect it. And there's just other options underneath, like idents, you can get rid of those. And it just picks what's displayed on the map. All right, the next button underneath map is called Set Wind. When you pull that up, I haven't had much use for this page. There's just kind of a vector diagram on there. You can tap it with your finger and set the wind based on where that red line is. You can kind of drag your finger up or down to adjust the wind velocity and move it around to change the wind direction. I just think it's not accurate enough to really use, but there are a couple of useful things here. You can change to winds calm very quickly if you pull this page up. Also, there's another button there where you can set your wind in case you want to get to it through the map button instead of using the environmental page to set your winds. And your last two buttons are GWiz Mount and Enable and Track Erase. We're familiar with those. Track Erase gets rid of those dotted lines behind the aircraft. GWiz Mount and Enable sets up your seat bit. All right, next thing we're going to go underneath Maps, Plots, and Storms. We're going to go to Storms. You'll see along the right-hand side of the screen there's different fronts. So I'll go ahead and select one of the fronts. Now you're probably going to have to scale out to get a better look to see where it's at. So we'll scale out and see it. You can select different fronts. They all have different sizes and shapes. Kind of pick one that suits the needs for what you want to use it for. And you can see some of them are pretty well spread out. Some of them are more compact. So now you got your storm system selected and now you're ready to position it. So just put your finger on the map where you want to position the storm, release it, and then at the bottom of the screen you'll see a button that says Weather to Cursor. Just go ahead and select that button and the weather system moves to wherever the cursor was placed. Okay, let's say you want to rotate your weather. There is an option for that. So at the bottom, you can see there's an option for rotate weather. Just enter in how much you want to rotate it. Let's say it's 90 degrees. We enter that, and it just twists the storm 90 degrees to get to the orientation that you want. There are some other options along the bottom for selecting latitude and longitude where you want to put the weather, or on departure or arrival. Haven't had much luck with those. What seems to work the best is just put your finger on the map where you want the weather. Select Weather to Map Cursor, and when you are ready to activate the storm, you just on the bottom right hand corner there is a button that says Activate. Just hit that button. Once you activate it, you'll see it changes color, and then the students will see lightning and hear thunder, and also they'll be able to pick up the weather on their radar display. One issue you may have with this is how it can create a distraction. I know I wouldn't take off here in that. Simple solution though, go to the environment page, go to Weather Effects, and then deselect Light and Thunder. Because you have a storm out there, you'll still have weather off in the distance, but it gets rid of that loud clap of thunder. Okay, let's say you're done with your storm now. You want to get rid of it. A couple options. You can deactivate the storm using the Activate button. When you press that, you'll see that the storm loses its color, goes gray. You can reactivate it if you want just by pressing the activate button again. If you want to get rid of it completely, just go to the front and deselect the front and the whole weather system disappears. Another thing I've used this for, besides just wind shear scenarios, is on an LOE. If you are giving them turbulence, I'll put a weather system out there, clear them direct to a point, tell them to keep them clear of the weather, but there's turbulence in these altitudes. When they break out and go on top, they'll actually see a system out there. Makes it a little bit more realistic. All right, next thing I'm going to talk about is station fail data. If you need to fail a VOR, like in the 401, go ahead and select that. You'll see there's a red box that appears on the screen. It'll just move to wherever your fingertip is. So just touch the screen wherever you want to place it. Let's say you want to fine tune it. You put it somewhere. There's arrows at the bottom. You can use those arrows to kind of fine tune where that red box is located. Let's say you got it centered up on Guadalajara now. If you want to zoom in to get a clear picture of exactly what's down there, you can go ahead and change your scale, and that'll move you a little bit closer. You can spot to see what's inside there now. Adjust your box. There's Guadalajara, and you can see there's options at the top there for VOR and DME fail. So you go ahead and select those, and then at the bottom you go ahead and execute that. And both the VOR and DME will fail. And when you want to get them back, just select them again, execute, and they'll be back working again. All right, next button under Maps, Plots, and Storms is the approach page. If you select that, you'll see there's some plots, non-precision approach plot, height above touchdown versus distance to touchdown. I really have not found a good use for these yet. But there are some useful things on this page. You'll see there's a localizer fail button and a glide slope fail button. So it's, instead of going into malfunctions, you can just select localizer or glide slope fail right there. Saves you a little bit of time. Also at the top right, you see touchdown point. It tells you how far down the runway the crew touched down. Good piece of information to pass along to them. In some of the sims, instead of just having the most recent touchdown, there's a button instead at the upper right that says touchdown data, TD data. When you select that, it'll pull up the previous 5 landings, touchdown point, roll to a stop, and total distance. The next button is runway plot. I really don't use it myself, but it shows you variation from center line. Could come in handy if someone's drifting back and forth around the center line, maybe during a V1 cut. And the last button is takeoff plot. Shows you height above touchdown versus distance from takeoff, center line and speed deviations. Haven't used this much, but it could come in handy. Well, that's it for Maps, Plots, and Storms. Thanks for watching.